And hello again, everybody. Welcome in to the Fieldhouse Files live post-game show here on a Sunday night, a Mother's Day spectacular. Hope everyone had a great day with their families, perhaps, and then taking in that Game 4 of the playoffs. Pacers defeat, dominate, pummel, punish, handle, however you want to describe it. The Cleveland Cavaliers here Sunday night, 129-109, the final in this one. It was just a punishment. It was one of those where you didn't see, I think, a game like this coming. I expected it to be a little bit more back and forth. I expected for the Cavs to put up a fight and to make things difficult. Now, I expected the Pacers to come out on top, despite the Cavs being favored by 5.5 points for the second consecutive game. But that said, my goodness, what a punishment that the Pacers provided the Cavs here on the home floor. And as I mentioned in my At the Buzzer piece, if you're not getting that, make sure you are at fieldhousefiles.com. There's no LeBron to rescue this team like there was in 2018. That was a series first round that went 7 games. Pacers, Victor Oladipo should have won that one, but LeBron was just so dominant and was basically blocking the door for the Pacers for a decade. Well, he's not there anymore. He can't rescue this team. And now with a 3-1 series lead, the Pacers need just one win over the final 3 games. Now, 2 of them will be played in Cleveland. Maybe they get it done with Tuesday night. Maybe they'll need another game to get it done. But I think the Pacers will ultimately move on and reach the Eastern Conference Finals for the second consecutive year, which is just remarkable given the circumstances, given the talent level of this team, given the fight. But I thought it was an incredible response by this group. It really was, to see how they came out and performed here in Game 4 after getting embarrassed, quite frankly, in Game 3. They never led in Game 3. They never trailed in Game 4. So you had complete contrast, right, between the games. I mean, if you're a Pacers fan, imagine paying for the Game 3 ticket and not going to Game 4. And vice versa. If you're a Cavs fan, Game 3 was wonderful. Game 4 was trash. It's just remarkable. Sergio, Game 5, Tuesday night in Cleveland at Rocket Arena, 7 o'clock. It'll be on TNT as well. Appreciate everyone joining me here on the live post-game show. Let's go right to the comments because we already got a handful of them pouring in. Sean says another Mother's Day massacre. Yeah, there was one just like it last year in the second round against New York. He says, big win. Everything was clicking. Can't get too excited because the series is not over yet. Matherin's ejection was weak, but it's a good lesson for him. Thanks for the show, Scott. Yeah, you're absolutely welcome. And PJ has the same similar thoughts. Not sure how Ben gets ejected and Hunter gets attacked. I agree. I thought they messed up all 3 of those. I thought Miles Turner came in and tried to play peacemaker and basically say, hey, this isn't going to happen. No, DeAndre. And he got a technical for that. Ben certainly did the first thing. And usually the first guy does not get caught. But Ben it looked like gave a shove or a slight punch. I would not ejected either of them. I lean towards benefit of the doubt. I lean towards in the playoffs, allowing the players to stay out there. We're there to see the players. We're there to cover the players. You want to see the best compete. So I even put in my tweet, while I could understand it's a flagrant 2 on DeAndre Hunter, whistle had blown, and he basically gave a 2-handed shove of Benedict Matherin. Then the second replay and third replay showed that Benedict kind of got him with one arm. They mentioned closed fist after the play. I didn't see that, at least to the camera angles that we saw. I thought it was just kind of a get out of my space, dude, I'm here type thing. I don't think any of them warranted an ejection, certainly not in a playoff game. Well, however, that said, if you eject Matherin, what Hunter did was way worse. And maybe they were saying, well, what Matherin did kind of got it started, and without it. No, these two, as I thought TNT had a great job of having a reel of this ready. That's inside TV, but it's so smart knowing these two guys don't like each other. They've always got tangled up. They're always talking. Let's have something ready. And it played out beautifully because then that moment happened. They had a stall in the action. And I was very curious how the Pacers would respond from this because they were rolling at this point. 22-10, first quarter. We're feeling good, playing great. And I thought the stoppage might be a detriment to everything, that it might give the Cavs momentum. It might fire them up a little bit. And that 12-point lead shrinks to 5 or 6 or something like that. It was not the case, but that was something I was concerned about. So certainly the coaching staff for the Pacers had to be concerned about there in that first quarter. And keep in mind, the Pacers did all this, won by 20, got up by as many as 44, and never trailed without its sixth man, without its top scorer from game three. In fact, Matherin was on the court less than 2 minutes, 1 minute, 20 seconds, picked up a personal foul, a rebound, a turnover in all that amount of time, and gave him a flagrant two. I disagreed with that. I understand them wanting to get a hold of the series and the physicality and owning that moment, but I didn't think they got it right. I really didn't. You don't eject a player for that, especially when it was lesser. Now, unless they saw a replay, we didn't. I didn't understand that. And so appropriately, those were among the first two comments here with the post-game show. Again, game 5 coming up on Tuesday. So look, you're at a situation here where the Cavs, especially because of those injured players, but both teams will be limited here. Less than 48 hours until game 5. Both teams will be in a hurry to kind of get settled and recover. That's what tonight will be about, especially for the Pacers. Cold tubs, hot tubs. And then tomorrow, I think you'll get some massage work. If you're a player, if you're one of the key players, I'm probably only doing limited shooting and free throws. If you're the bench player, you might get up and down, might play a little 3-on-3 action, 5-on-5, certainly get shots up, certainly get in the weight room, and then also a big film session. And that's what they had Saturday. It was a monster film session. They didn't need to do much on the court. It was all about ripping into the ass of these guys because Rick Carlisle did not like, nor did any of us watching that game. It was terrible. Friday night, Pacers did not show up. I mentioned in my post-game story some of the things that Rick Carlisle looks for, right? It's force, hard play, disposition. They had none of that in game 3. I thought it was the exact opposite in this one. It was evident from the first possession where Siakam got the steal. Halliburton got the dunk, a rare dunk for him. And that jump-started this Pacers run. Then they went up 12-5. At that point, a couple of minutes in, 4 of the 5 starters had scored. They were 5 for 5 from the field. They were distributing the ball well. It took them less than 90 seconds into the game to see that 3-2 zone that the Cavs installed before game 3. The Pacers knew they were going to see it. They had several counters ready, and it didn't look like it was over their head. They didn't be frantic. It wasn't too much for them to handle, nor should it be. These are pros. They've seen it before. It's not special or unique to this group. You just have some length and size out at that front of the point of attack there. And so what do? You try to attack the middle of it, look for a guy inside. Maybe a screener comes up. You look opposite side, try to send it in the corner perhaps. And the other thing that was advantageous to this group was they knocked down shots. And they did so as well as they have in this series. In the three-point range in the first quarter, 6 of 10. They shot 54% from the field. I thought it was notable at the end of the first quarter, this Cavs team had more turnovers, 7, than they had field goals. It was just the opposite, really, in games 3 and game 4. Pacers were hitting everything. They were assisting on everything. 37 assists on 49 field goals. Everybody got it going. They had 3 20-point scores, including 2 notable bench performances. Obi Toppin, how about that Dr. J looking up under the rim, off the glass? All that was incredible by Obi, who just has incredible leaps, athleticism. Anyways, he finished with 20 points. I thought McConnell was sharp, 13.8 assists. And by the way, his assists led the Pacers. That was more than Tyrese Halliburton, who had 11 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, but was a lot more assertive and active. That's what you're looking for. It's not necessarily about assists or about shot attempts or anything like that. It's just you can't have him playing passive. You need him to be assertive. You need him to be the point of attack player like he is. And Max Strus is going to try to disrupt that. He even got a technical during the game. That was in the second quarter. And I don't think they allowed that physicality or the fight of the Cavs to disrupt them. And in fact, it was quite the opposite. The Pacers got under their skin. And the only incident was that the one that mattered was the one that cost Matherin. And yeah, this will be a learning moment. I don't think, again, it was necessary, but this is one where I think, especially because you got up 44 and you never trailed, you need to lean into it. You need to give Matherin a hug. And what I mean by that is, hey, look, we love your competitiveness. We love your dogged fight, and all of that. And we need you to continue to do that. But here's what we can't have you do, because you're far more valuable on the court than you are off of it, right? And having him out there and meaning out of the game in a game that would have been tight, could have been a huge detriment to this group. So look, this is his second playoff series all time, right? He's only played in 9 playoff games, so it's a teaching moment. You love the fact that ultimately it did not matter. It did not hurt the team. But how about that first half regardless? 41-point lead. Their 41-point lead was greater than the Cavs' 39 points. It was just remarkable. The level of play in that first half. I'm not sure I've seen anything like that. 80-39, the tally. I thought it was incredibly notable, and I mentioned this in my column as well. You were plus 10 to start the quarter, 10-0 run to start, 17-2 to finish the second quarter. To go into halftime, to take that 41-point lead, you had a bigger lead than the Cavs had points, and you had to be feeling good about the message you had sent, the level of play that you were at, and the frustration had already sunk in for the Cavs. They tried to keep it positive at halftime. Kenny Atkinson was saying, I laughed. He was at the podium like 3 minutes after the game time. That quick. He wanted to get the hell out of there, get the other interviews so they could get on their plane and get back to Cleveland because they have a huge day of film and rehab for the players coming up on Monday. Again, the Pacers win 129-109, a great audience here on this Sunday night. I was a little bit worried what it might be like given a Mother's Day, given that was a late day, but so many of you wanting to talk about this Pacers win. Rise Globin, good thing about a blowout like this, Rick barely showed his cards. Kenny showed his whole hand because the Pacers kept fighting and made the blowout look close. With their competitiveness. Yeah, Pacers were outplayed in the third and fourth quarter, but they also didn't play starters really in the fourth quarter. Nembhard played like less than 2 minutes. None of their guys really played more than 30 minutes. So you have Halliburton at 26 minutes. You had Siakam play just 21 in this one. So 21 points in 21 minutes. And I'd love to see that. So much conversation was about Halliburton, but I think so much needed to be also about Siakam. He was the only all-star on this team this year. He needed to play like it. And this was the first time in 5 games that he had reached the 20-point threshold. He did it in games 1, game 2, and game 3 in their first round series, but had not done it since. And so this is what I'm sitting there waiting for. Come on, P. Be a little bit more assertive, play within the flow of the offense. And I thought he did, and his teammates did well to help set him up as well. He made 4 points very early into the game, and was a key cog in what they were able to do there successfully to start the game. But yeah, I don't think the Pacers had to show very much. And for the Cavs, here's 2 things. One, Donovan Mitchell didn't play in the second half. He kind of bent over, didn't feel right. I could see it on the video feed. Did not feel right in that second quarter, or halftime rather. They were calling it an ankle sprain. He was back in the locker room the entirety of that second half. And on top of that, he's going to get an MRI on Monday, and then we'll see. We'll go from there and see how he's feeling. But that could be a huge detriment to what the Cavs are trying to do. A guy that just scored 48 on the Pacers, had scored 40 pretty easily in back-to-back games, but not this one, as he was held to 12, but he also only played 20 minutes. But if he can't go or isn't feeling great in game 5, oh boy, good luck to those Cavs, because they're not going to be feeling good about their chances. Now, what they might feel better about, though, is Darius Garland. Thought it was interesting that with the game out of hand, even in that third quarter, Darius Garland wanted to keep playing. He played that entire third quarter, and I think he got some confidence. He got some comfort out on the floor during a time when, although the micro game didn't matter in the big picture, maybe it will be helpful for him since he played a little bit there in game 3 on Friday, but before that hadn't played for a couple of weeks due to that great left big toe injury, which is incredibly painful. You'd see him trip a couple times. That was a challenge, but he played all 12 minutes in the third quarter, still scored 12 of his game high 21. Now, will I think him playing well being enough for the Cavs? No, it won't. But if I'm the Cavs, that's a point in optimism I'm certainly looking for. But with Mitchell, that's tough. Now, it was a blowout, so you don't need to force anything, but he did not look good as he walked off the court from what I saw. Wow, a lot of comments rolling in. Let me see if I can get through these. Yeah, the ejection was ridiculous, PJ says. Need to close it out Tuesday and hope the Knicks go to 7 with the Celtics. Yeah, and by the way, tonight was the first time in the Eastern Conference second round that the road team did not win. They were 6-0 entering this one. The other notable stat for those that like minutia like I do is the Pacers are now 21-5 in their icy white City Edition uniforms. Do I think Hunter exaggerated the Matherin hit? Absolutely. For sure. I think Matherin definitely got him. He definitely deserved, meaning Matherin definitely deserved something. If it was me, I think how I viewed that was a technical foul, just kind of a cheap shot by Matherin. Nothing major, but let's not have that. But then I would have given DeAndre Hunter a flagrant 1 because it was unnecessary. Was it excessive? He didn't take his head off. Those sort of things. He wasn't charging towards the basket, didn't take out his feet, a dangerous play. It was just a non-basketball play and excessive. And for that reason, and being the playoffs, it's not a flagrant 2 in my mind. Now, if the regular season, it's probably a flagrant 2. No need for that. You're done. Go to the locker room. We're done with that. So again, I would have said a Matherin technical, Hunter flagrant 1. And in turn, I'm totally incorrect here by what this crew did. It was ultimately a technical foul on Hunter and Miles Turner and a flagrant 2 on Benedict Matherin. Make that make sense. I don't know. Let's see. What else do we got here? A lot more. Notice tonight they went to Pascal early and got him involved with a nice change. Yeah, absolutely. And PJ, and that goes along with what I had to say just a few minutes ago. They needed to get him active early because he's a passive player. And also he's adapting his playing style. He's not a fast up and down. He's a half court, post up, mid-range type of guy. So I give him a lot of credit for adapting to the playing style that's built and centered around Tyrese Halliburton. That's why if Ty does not have a good game, this team probably doesn't have a good game. But it's not like Ty or Halliburton doesn't have to be phenomenal by any means, but he needs to be active, be a threat, and contribute out there. Tonight he finished with 11 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, just a couple of turnovers. 1 of 5 from 3. You'd like to see that to be better. He's better than that, maybe 3 of 5. But it was not a complete lackluster effort like it was in game 3 for Halliburton and many of his teammates. Being up 20, then going on a 19-2 run the last couple of minutes a half was insane. Yeah, officially it was 17-2, Marcus, to close that second quarter. That was my turning point for the game in my At the Buzzer column. It was a phenomenal start and an even better finish for the Pacers of that second quarter. 10-0 to start, 17 to finish. They kept the pedal down, kept hitting every single shot. I mean, it was, what was it? Siakam back-to-back 3-pointers. Toppin hit a 3-pointer. Toppin had that reverse layup, I think is what we can call it. It was just an incredible run, something unlike we've ever seen before. What do you make of this consistent discrepancy in free throw attempts? Cavs 40 to the Pacers 20. It's been like that all series, MK says. I'm sure the whistle will favor the Cavs again. Well, for one, the Pacers aren't an active free throw shooting team. That's why you need Siakam and Matherin to be attacking inside. You really didn't need to compare free throw attempts, I think, in this game as much because of the blowout. But you're right. It was half that number, 40-20. For the Pacers, I'm surprised. I don't remember this, but it was Halliburton who got to the line more than anyone, going 4 of 5. Garland, 8 for 8. But for them to make 35 of their 40 free throws, and it was free throws that really kept them in the game there early on, right? In the first quarter, they scored 23 points. 12 of those were at the free throw line. Well, first of all, I think it's how much Mitchell is attacking. He's getting a lot of good calls there inside. A lot of how the Pacers play, they're not going for the foul calls. Certainly there's a couple more each game that I feel like were missed opportunities. But I'm not too surprised. You don't expect a discrepancy quite that large, MK. That's where the Pacers, I think it's more of a reflection of the Pacers defense and needing to defend without fouling quite as much. The Pacers will get there. But they just haven't done it as often as you'd like, to your point. Yeah, it's definitely something you'll watch much closer if it's not a blowout like the last couple of games have been, one for each side. Matherin did not throw a punch. He pushed off. Everyone is being ridiculous. Yeah, I totally agree. He pushed off. He kind of gave him a shove. I didn't see a punch. I even saw some people mentioning maybe it was like a punch to the midsection, his private area. I didn't see that at all. I think it was just a shove to the chest. Hey, I'm here. We're going to be battling tonight. I thought that's what it was. So nothing more than a technical to me. Why they gave him a flagrant 2, don't understand that. Compton says, why aren't you at the post-game press conference at the Fieldhouse? I thought you were usually there asking questions. I was. The Pacers aren't welcoming me this year, and I don't know why. It's the first year I've not been at practice, at games, at no fault of my own. Haven't been told why. I've talked to everyone from the team president to the president to PR. They don't want me there, and I do not understand it. It's frustrating, given that I've been on the beat longer than anyone. I've been around the Fieldhouse since 2003 and on the beat since 2012. So I don't get it. So what am I doing? I pivoted this season to doing these live videos again, just like last year. It's frustrating, Compton. I don't get it. Worst thing about it is no one will give me an explanation why. Even worse, they kept me out of Mad Ants. Nobody covers the Mad Ants games but me. Tony's there occasionally. It's unreal. I'm hoping we can get a resolution, but I say resolution as if something was wrong. There's fan bloggers, fan podcasters that they credential, but not me, who calls it down the middle, who used to work for the team, who has a great understanding of the franchise. Enough about that, but that's why I'm not there, because they're keeping me out. I do not get it. The Flamethrowers, I did not go into this season or postseason thinking the Pacers could win a championship, but that is a distinct possibility. No team left in the field that the Pacers can't beat. For sure. I can see that. I thought ultimately the second round would be where the Pacers would I thought they'd get here. I did not think they would advance past this, and who knows what it would look like if you had a fully healthy Cavaliers team. But you can't make excuses for them, just like you can't last year for all those teams who suffered injuries, because the Pacers then later on suffered injuries as well. OKC would give them a hell of a time. And I'm still not sure how this next series would potentially go. Mentally, I'm already there because I know the Pacers are going to get one more. No doubt about it to me. But how they square against the Knicks or Celtics, that's going to be difficult. I think ideally you don't want the Celtics. Celtics have the wings. You do not. That's terribly difficult. So I understand your thought there, Flamethrower, that no one's that intimidating to you, right? That the field is wide open. I'd say you just play it by ear right now, because so many things could change for better or worse. I would just, if I were you as a Pacers fan, I would just get caught up in the moment and enjoy every moment right now, because there were some bad years. We had the Nate Bjorkgren year. We had the first year and a half with Rick Carlisle, and that where they had to pivot from that Charlotte loss, losing terribly at home, to now where they're at. And so that's where they're, I would just enjoy every single moment of that. Love the aggressiveness in the paint and rebounds and such. Need that in game 5. Absolutely. It was a situation here where they gave up just 10 offensive rebounds rather than 18, and they had 8 by themselves. And instead of giving up 31 second chance points, they only gave up 11. That was a huge game changer. If the game was tighter, that would be more meaningful. In this game, it really did not matter. Hunter should have been ejected, if anyone. Yeah, I agree with that. Just because it was a total non-basketball play. He wasn't even close to him. And in fact, you could see Matherin brace for it, right? Didn't Matherin go like this, ready to absorb the hit, know it was coming? And with the game stopped, Hunter just shoved him. It was one step below a straight up punch. I don't get it, but let's get past that. Pacers won. You can move on. It didn't cost them ultimately, even though we don't understand what exactly happened there. Rice said, speaking of that injury, video shows him going for a shot, reaches for his right ankle. Then the report is left ankle. He just wanted to sit. No, that's not what it is. I can promise you that. I saw him at halftime. He didn't feel well. He was limping off the court. No competitor like Donovan is going to just walk off the court, throw in the towel, and say, let's get to game 5. Just not. Flamethrower corrects. It says the video showed left ankle. I believe it was left ankle, was what Kenny Atkinson said post-game, and that's also what PR said during the game. Just Jules, I'm a Pacers fan, but dang, the Cavs didn't even show up. I can't imagine how they're going to rebound. Yeah, I mean, so much could be said about the Pacers just 2 days ago, 48 hours ago. Although you figured they would rebound, right? They had more talent. They have more depth. They do not have those injuries. They're playing on their home floor. And they're not going to allow that 3-2 zone to bother them as much like it's IU Syracuse once again. They just wouldn't. Gen C, hi, welcome. Philip, was Caitlin at the game? Yes, Caitlin Clark was at the game. Aaliyah Boston was at the game. Dario Franchitti, Scott Dixon, Katie Douglas, Derek McKee. There was a whole cast of people that everyone. Reggie Wayne, former Colt. So a lot of people were at the game there. Is there any way they would suspend Matherin? In my estimation, no, not at all. I don't think he should have got ejected. So that certainly, to me, didn't rise to a level of suspension after this fact. I thought it was notable. He has one other ejection, and that came earlier in the year in January, also against the Cavs. It was after he was called for a foul challenging Evan Mobley. He brushed up against the official. I think it was Natalie Sago. That was an automatic second technical. He was ejected, and that did lead to a one-game suspension. But no, I would be stunned. If you're not going to fine Halliburton for the big balls celebration, Matherin did nothing to warrant losing yet another game. When the Pacers are motoring, it's so beautiful. What an evening, Jency says. For sure. They're playing to their pace. They're playing their style. They're piling up assists. The ball is moving. You have all those players in double figures, 4 of the 5 starters, plus 3 reserves. Fourth quarter, you're able to play James Johnson, Jarris Walker, Johnny Furphy. Like, everything that could go right did, except for probably that Matherin situation here tonight. Somehow the free throw disparity for the Cavs, the officiating was horrendous the entire series. Pacers are 10-0 and Caitlin Clark is at the game. I don't know that stat. If that is true, well done, Eric. By the way, I'm getting a text from my buddy Eddie White. Said Caitlin Clark called into a show and so did Steve Simon. So big get there for the world's greatest post-game show. I'll have to listen to those interviews after the fact. So Caitlin called in. That's impressive. Well done by Eduardo. That's big time. This is BS. You deserve to be invited to cover the games. Yeah, Compton, feel free to campaign. I don't get it. Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, Eric, it is insane. The Fever seem to like me. Is that right? I've heard. Yeah, I'm at everything with the Fever. Everything. I was on the road. I'm getting one-on-ones with them. Like, it's unbelievable. And meantime, you have the team president and all those walk on by. They see me there working every single day. But for whatever reason, the Pacers are keeping me out, and the worst of all is they just haven't given me any explanation. I know I cover this team fairly. I report accurately. I try to do my best in covering the team, and obviously someone or multiple people do not see that as the case, and so they've kept me out, and I don't understand. The worst of all is it impacts the players because there's stories there that are not being written, right? Did you know TJ McConnell's sisters in the WNBA, a rookie, got a chance right now in camp with the Phoenix Mercury? Phenomenal story. How about Miles Turner and being his 10th year and seeing this team back to the Eastern Conference playoffs and what he's able to do? The fact that he had to go to Players Tribune to express his story, that's a big red flag. But yeah, it's just frustrating. It really is. Nothing's been the same for the last several years, and I don't know why. But I would love to have a conversation with them. That's what I keep telling them, and nobody cares to listen, unfortunately. So I feel bad for you fans because you miss out on good stories and attention to detail that I think I know I'm really good at and finding. What else do we got? Kumomo, welcome back. The Knicks got decent wings too, and Anunoby and Bridges. Definitely not as talented as Tatum and Brown, but they'd be a handful as well. Yeah, for sure. Either team would be a great big challenge. If I'm a Pacer fan, I would not want to take on the Celtics, a team with experience, with championship level talent. With the Knicks, you wonder, are they worn down? Oh man, those environments would be phenomenal though, by the way. MSG Eastern Conference Finals. I believe it's TNT, so you'd have Reggie Miller, Kevin Harlan on the call. That would be elite. And a lot of fun for sure too. We'll see. We'll see what that looks like. Looks like Caitlin was sitting next to Keith Porter, which is cool. Okay, I'm done commenting on irrelevant topics. Appreciate that, Eric. Yes. And Keith Porter, assistant coach, player development coach. Leah Boston. There were several other Fever people in there. Keith's wife was in there. So it's just kind of the Fever suite during Pacer games. Cool to see them recognized. It not only gets the crowd excited, but it gives them attention and brings attention to the, hey, look, they have 1 week until opening day. It's less than 1 week now. Saturday, I think it's 3:00 in the afternoon on ABC, because Ryan Rucco, who I had on the podcast last, will be calling the game with Rebecca Lobo as well as Holly Rowe. You get the number one women's basketball crew, as you have the Chicago Sky, my guy Tyler Marsh, who's the head coach of the Chicago Sky. This will be game one for them coming up on Saturday. I'll be there. I'll have Fever practice, I believe, tomorrow. Haven't gotten the email just yet. But, yep, I will be there every day providing you with daily updates, just like I would for the Pacers if I was allowed there. But it makes no sense. Same ownership. Yeah. Yeah, it is. By the way, Eric. So it just doesn't make sense. Yeah, Megan McConnell, you're right, Jency. Absolutely. Mike says, my gift to Storytell is unparalleled. I appreciate that. I really do. That's what I'm going for. I want to tell the stories no one else is. For example, I'm going to talk about for the third straight year, I was the only reporter up down at IU to learn more about Aaron Neesmith. In this case, it was Miles Turner last year and Tyrese Halliburton before that, off the court, about their sense of style and fashion. I know a couple other people this year have now caught on to the story and written on it, but I was there at full video, talked with Aaron afterwards. How about me going to Paris? I was the only reporter there in Paris. That's my only time being around the team because the NBA is in control of credentials. They have no problem with me. And by the way, I will be in Chicago coming up this week for the NBA Draft Combine. Again, no trouble with the NBA. They welcome me with open arms and are fantastic to me. So I will be in Chicago this week for the NBA Draft Combine, then have a couple more days back in Indy leading up to opening night for the Fever coming up on Saturday. That will be a lot of fun. Remember last year, the Knicks had their legends sit there during the playoffs. Pacers should do the same. Totally agree. I will say, though, I was thinking about this tonight because I always document in my At the Buzzer column. Check that out at fieldhousefiles.com. I always document who's in the stands. And I thought the Pacers did a phenomenal job tonight. Part of it's who's in town, and part of it might be who you can bring in. And you're right. It was an incredible cast of former Knicks players. And what they did so well, guys, was during timeouts, they would sprinkle them. So each timeout, it'd be like, here's 2. Next timeout, here's 3. Next timeout, here's 3 more. And so it just felt almost overwhelming in a good way that the Knicks had all this support from their former players. And I think it would be a lot of fun if the Pacers were able to match that in a similar way, right? Let's get Roy Hibbert here. Orlando Johnson's retired. Bring him back. Lance Stevenson can be here. You'll have the Fever here as much as they can up in that suite. That's one of the great things about it. But in comparison, the Cavs had like 2 people. I remember Myles Garrett and then like a wrestler I'd never heard of. Doesn't mean he's not famous. It's just not my world. But that's it of note that they showed, and so I could document it. That's it. Great analysis, Philip says. Appreciate that. Thank you. Let me know if you have any questions about tonight, the series, whatever's on your mind. Is Rick Smith still living in Indy? I believe not. Last I knew, he had moved to Phoenix, an off-season home, and good for him. I don't blame him whatsoever to spend his now retirement there in sunny Florida or sunny Arizona over in the Phoenix area. But yeah, just thinking about it, Austin Crozier's in California. He spent summers, I believe, in Indy. You could bring him back, bring back Lance. They already brought back Travis Best. Mark Jackson was at game 3, which I think was awesome. By the way, did anyone talk to Mark Jackson? Any stories about what are we doing here? Like, go talk to him. Compton, he said, thanks for bringing up Orlando Johnson, one of my favorites. Well, guess what? I have a good story in the can for you. Had a long one-on-one podcast with OJ about his decision to retire, the impact of the organization, how Indy feels like home. It's one of the many stories I'm ready to write, just haven't had time balancing a Pacers postseason with the start of the Fever season. Just wild, by the way. I think D's mentioning the spread here. Pacers +7, game 5. I'm going to pull up my app here and see if that's indeed what you were getting at, although I'm pretty sure it is here. I'm seeing 6.5 on DraftKings, but Pacers were 5.5-point underdogs these last couple of games. So, all right, so the Cavs are getting another point and a half for being at home. At this point, it's remarkable, quite frankly, that they have been favored in all 5 games, despite the Pacers winning 3 of the first 4. Thanks for the heads up there, though. PJ said, how can you listen to Eddie's post-game show other than hearing it live? I don't think you can, unfortunately. I've encouraged them to post that post-game show on their podcast page, but nothing yet. I would love to see that because there's a lot of fans like you down in Evansville. I think that would love to listen or have it in podcast form. I know I would prefer it in podcast form because you could get it at 2-3x speed, like I prefer to listen to all my audio. New guest here, De La Rosa. Aside from Derek McKee, who are the other retired Pacers residing in Indy? Ooh, catching me off the top of my head. Eddie Gill, Scott Pollard. I'm sure there's a couple more. That's all I got off the top of my head, though. Obviously, you see Eddie Gill on Bally Sports, and he's the color analyst for Mark Boyle as well on the Pacers radio network, but I'm sure there's a couple others. Do we think Tyrese is still bothered by the wrist? Somewhat feel he got rescued due to the blowout, but didn't light up the stats. I think I would view it as like a headache. Like it's still there. It's still present. You feel it, but it's not limiting him. He said it's fine, I'm good, but he's also said that with his hamstrings in the past, and those had lingered. I haven't seen him. A lot of what I do is trust my eye, and by the way, that's another reason why it's important to be there, to see him warm up, to see if he's in any pain. And unfortunately, I haven't been able to do that. But from the game feed, have not seen anything of him clutching that left wrist or icing it during when he's on the bench or anything like that. So I don't think it's of any great concern. A lot of players don't like to talk about injuries for obvious reasons, right? You don't want to complain. You don't want to give the opponent an advantage or give them an idea of what might hurt or how bad. So I think it's an issue, but nothing significant. But to your point, MK, yeah, he didn't light it up. 11-5-5. He only played 25 minutes. And I would say the biggest thing is this is a game where you didn't necessarily need any one player to dominate. You were looking for the best shot available. So what does Rick Carlisle emphasize? Get the best shot available. Play within the flow of the offense. We hear it all the time, right? Especially with Matherin. Like, don't just attack. Play within that flow and find the open man. And so I think that's what everyone seemingly has been doing. That's what everyone was seemingly doing. Yes, I'd like to see him knock down Ty a couple more additional threes, but he looked comfortable out there. He looked in control. They didn't take him out of the game, meaning the Cavs. And so I thought all of those were positive, and he didn't get his head down. Now, I haven't been able to obviously watch it just yet, but I'll be curious if he talked post-game, and if so, what he had to say, because they didn't handle that well after game 3. Halliburton is expected to talk after every single game, whether it's on the podium or in the locker room. When you're the face of the franchise, when you're the highest paid player in history of the franchise, and when you're the go-to guy, you got to talk and answer questions. And they said PR was to blame. I don't know if Ty really, I don't know the circumstances, again, to be clear, because I was not down there. But if Ty wanted to talk, nothing's stopping him. How many times in the past did I have walk-in talks with Paul George? Or if CJ Miles had something on his mind, he was going to let us know. No one was going to get in the way of that. Players have as much control as they want when it comes to media. And guess what? They have our numbers. If they want to call, they can find me and find other reporters, I'm guessing, as well. I'm in Florida. Would love to listen to Eddie. Used to be a must listen. I believe, D, you can listen to his post-game show, which is before mine, on the 1070 app. You just need to have that, or any stream, and then call up 107.5 The Fan. I believe you can stream that. You just cannot stream the game because that's under NBA league rights, and they obviously do not allow that. But I would encourage you to try that for Game 5, and then come here for my live post-game show as well. I want you to come back. Can't wait for the OJ story. I met him randomly at a San Jose airport. Sure, yeah, he's from there. He's from out there in California and is trying to figure out what's next. Compton says, since I was a huge Pacers fan, I automatically recognized him. This is when he was playing for the Austin Spurs, for sure. One of the nicest guys. He's trying to get into basketball and see where he's at. He spent about a week and a half here during, I think it was January, maybe February. I took him to the Colts game. We were able to catch up there. And from there, then he spent time with the Mad Ants, now the Boom. Came to a couple Pacer games as well, and just kind of build on connections and seeing what's possible after his playing days. And he's also now a father as well, so congrats to him. X Factor tonight, Obi Toppin was incredible, says Granny. He really was, for sure. So many big pop moments. He also knocked down that 3-pointer, grabbed 5 rebounds, had two assists. He was really solid. Part of me thinks I should have given him the player of the game, but ultimately, and this was a little bit of a cop out. I'll call myself out on this. Normally, I hate that, right? Like if you can't name a starting 5 to the All-Star team because the team did well. You can't have co-MVPs. That's ridiculous. You can't have co-defensive player of the year. I did do a cop out myself. I will acknowledge that tonight. As I said, basically it was the whole team because they figured out the 3-2 zone. They came out assertive. They played hard. They gave this Pacers fan base at Gainbridge Fieldhouse an incredible show. And I don't think it was any one or two players that dominated and made sure this was a win. I thought it was a little bit of everybody. And why that is so notable is because that's how this team is built. That's what it makes this team so special. It's as the collective. It's not one or two players, even though, yes, you expect Halliburton, you expect Siakam to score 20 points per game, for Halliburton to get his assists, for Siakam to lead the way, for Miles Turner to knock down a couple threes to protect the rim, and so on and so on. I thought it was by collective. I thought the coaching staff had a great game plan as well. They were great with their challenges, even though I disagreed with that first challenge, to be clear. I'm not challenging a possession with, I think, a 7-point lead 5 minutes into the game. Those just are way too valuable. Now, I will say in this blowout, it ultimately did not matter, but I'm probably leaning on only using a first half challenge if Halliburton, Siakam has a third foul and it's a terribly wrong foul. That's it. Otherwise, I'm not even thinking about challenges probably in most cases until the second half. Philip says Caitlin is their secret weapon. She's around a lot. She is. It's cool of her support of this team. Maybe we'll talk to her coming up tomorrow, as they just wrapped up their preseason with a win in Atlanta yesterday. So they went 3-0 in the preseason. Again, that doesn't mean much. Peyton Manning taught us that. They used to go defeated in the preseason and then win during the regular season. What's in the water in Indy? Good question. By the way, Philip, a story I don't see anybody else reporting on. I believe their deal with Connecticut is up. When I was there for the first Fever game in a while, did not see any Connecticut water. How's that story not being talked about? That's been a major footprint here in Indy for quite a while. But outside of that, yeah, I don't know what's in the water here. The Fever players love you, and the Fever fans do as well. I can't speak to any of those, but I appreciate that, Philip. Thanks so much for the kind words. I appreciate your support. Fever fans, WNBA fans, Caitlin fans have just been all so nice to me, all gracious, from the tips on YouTube to the support here to just watching the videos and all those different things. I'm so gracious and grateful for all the support. And what I appreciate most about it is I've covered this Fever team since I stopped working for them. So that's been over a decade. But now it's finally fruitful. There were times, as I've told before, where I'd spend a couple weeks reporting out a feature story, and an injury update to the Pacers would get more views than that featured story. That is not at all the case anymore. It is all Fever, all Caitlin, all Stephanie White. So much support for the Fever and therefore my coverage. I understand it's not because of me. It's because of the team. I'm just the conduit at which so many fans get their news coverage, all that different stuff. So I absolutely appreciate all that from anyone who provides their support, who tunes into the Fieldhouse Files podcast and this post-game show. Anyways, I appreciate it. Enough about me. That's too much. PJ says, dang, because I like to listen to your post-game and Eddie's too. Yeah, you'd have to balance it. You could have me on YouTube, him on your app, and when he goes to commercial, listen in here during commercials. No reason you couldn't do that. Wow, we've reached over 100 people live here. Amazing for a Pacers postgame. For Fever, not so many, but Pacers, huge crowd. So I appreciate everyone joining in here. Again, we're just talking about this Pacers-Cavs game for victory and whatever else you guys have, questions and comments in the comments section. 129-109, the score. It was a dominant first half, a remarkable first half we'll remember for ages, where they went to halftime up 80-39 thanks to a 17-2 run. What else? Just check ticket prices for Game 5. Yikes, they are low. $45 to get in the door. Well, there you go. You got to go to Cleveland then, my man. Make it happen. Do I know any other Pacer celebrity fans aside from Letterman, Mike Epps, Babyface Edmonds? I'd throw Matt Asen, the Pacer guy, fan guy, Flamingo guy, definitely in there. He's a super fan for the Pacers. But outside of that, I really think it's Mike Epps. He's been the true guy that's been there whenever he's in town for big moments. The Pacers really lack those big superstar courtside guys, right? Smaller market, you don't have a lot of that. In fact, what you probably have more of is the millionaires that are sitting courtside. Stephen Rails, the 20% owner of the Pacers. I saw him there again courtside, sitting there on the baseline. But you do not have. Oh, I would throw Drew Powell in there, by the way. I should mention him. And by the way, I need to get him on the podcast. I do need to get Drew on the podcast. He lives in Cali, from Lebanon, big time Pacers fan. I think he was back for, was it game 5 against the Bucks? Anyway, he was here recently, took his son to the game. He took his son to Tyrese Halliburton's camp. And by the way, if you're a Pacers fan in Indy, want to go to Halliburton's camp, go to fieldhousefiles.com, search out all the info about that with the dates and info. And on top of that, if you use my code, I think you get 10% off, which for like, not bad for a $300 camp. I think it is. There's $30 that'll save you just for using that code, by the way. So if you weren't aware of it, now you are. What else do you guys got? Very active chat session here post game. Cavs fan here, Yusuf says, if the Cavs don't bounce back, I don't really know why this Pacers team can't go to the finals. They remind me of a hot baseball team, especially over the last 2 to 3 months. For sure, this team has really hit its stride starting in December, but more so after the All-Star break. That's where I think they rank 7th in pace. I think 8 maybe in defensive rating, right around there. And again, anyone that has followed the Pacers knows that is an incredible feat for a group that I think was 29th in defense the first month of the season, maybe 24th the first couple of months. I've always said they just need to be average. I use Carlisle's former team, the Dallas Mavericks, who got to the finals last year. I think they were 18th in defensive rating last year. That is good enough. 8 certainly good enough. Being 26th or 24th, whatever they were, to finish last season, that is not going to get it done. Is David Harrison still in Indy? I believe so. Usually I see him every May out at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And by the way, fully credentialed out at the track, so I will be there really starting this weekend for 500 stuff. And I think there will be some inclusion with the Fever and Pacers, but if the Pacers keep winning here, they won't have time to be involved in that. Not like they were several years ago when Tyrese Halliburton, the Pacers were out of the playoffs. He represented them in Chicago at the draft lottery, which is tomorrow night, by the way, and then drove the pace car to the Indianapolis 500. So again, I'll be out at the track. If there's any racing-centric stories, I'll have them for you with the Pacers and Fever angle to them. Jency says, oh, you're talking about Philip. Love your good vibes. Great times in Indiana. Balsif's no need to worry about the water in Indy. Cleveland's water is the one that causes the fines. That's fantastic. Thanks for having me on, Yusuf says. Go Cavs. Nice. Appreciate you joining me. I don't mind who you support. Not at all. I just love civil commentary. And Yusuf, you might have missed it earlier, but I talked about how I think Darius Garland might have got a little bit of confidence in that third quarter when he scored 12 points, led the way with 21 tonight for the Cavs, a guy that's clearly hurt and not comfortable out there, but maybe got a little bit of comfort in that third quarter. But the big concern for the Cavs in particular has to be with Donovan Mitchell, a guy that didn't play in the second half, is scheduled to get an MRI on his ankle coming up tomorrow in Cleveland. Evan Mobley, just 10 points, 5 rebounds, 26 minutes. That's another one that stands out to me. This is a guy that was an all-star, defensive player of the year, no blocks. It was a game just like the Pacers had on Friday. The Cavs completely laid an egg. Nobody looked good. Nobody looked sharp. There's no one to single out. It was just a complete ass kicking by the Pacers Sunday. Mike Epps, Vivica Fox have repped the court side in the past. Yep, for sure. No doubt about that. Do you think Jermaine O'Neal will be in the Hall of Fame? Good question. That's a tough one, man. I tend to think he should be, But when is he going to get his due? We've had these loaded classes over the last couple of years. And by the way, I was out there this past year for the induction. The only Indy reporter there is Herb Simon, the longtime Pacers owner, the longest tenured owner in professional sports right now, was inducted in. I'm not sure Jermaine will get his due. I thought in particular, as I first read that there, will he get his name in the rafters with the Pacers? That's one thing I've thought a lot about. Guy finished second in MVP voting, was really, really good for this team for what felt like about 7 years. And I would, who I'd love? We talked about former players coming back. I think it would be awesome to see J.O. at an upcoming game. That would be a lot of fun for sure. All right, maybe I'll go a little while longer. Already crossed midnight here on this live post-game show. Appreciate everyone joining me here. Nembhard played 65 games this year, all NBA defense. Yeah, I don't think he did. Let me double check that here, Compton, because we've discussed this before. I think it was last game with all NBA defense. He has played 65 games, but then you have to go look at his minutes. Remember? Yeah, he's got games of 5 minutes, 15, 19. That means those don't count. Therefore, I don't believe he is qualified. I haven't checked with the NBA office to get an official tally. But remember, we went through this with Halliburton. You had to play, I think you had 2 exceptions of, I think it was less than 20 minutes. Well, right there with a quick scan, there were 3 games of 20 minutes or less. Therefore, unfortunately, I think he's disqualified. Otherwise, yes, he would be on an all NBA defensive team for me. Lillian Daisy, do you think Caitlin playing defense more will affect her offensive play? No, in fact, I think it'll help her because it'll give her that energy and that confidence, I think, at the offensive end. One thing, I'll touch into this briefly because we have a couple of Caitlin and Fever fans on here. One thing you need to be prepared for this season, she's going to play less minutes. She's going to play more off the ball. She's going to be leaned on more defensively. And they're going to play different lineups. So I'll be very curious if they how they finish games more than how they start. Maybe they finish games with a smaller lineup, a more fresh, agile, versatile, athletic finishing 5. And you will not see Caitlin play 36 minutes a game like you did last season. You're going to see more balance. You'll see Kelsey bring the ball up, Sydney Colson, Sophie Cunningham. It's going to be a very interesting but different Fever season because she's finally got support. She's got help. And the other big thing on this is they won't have to settle for just a long jumper because nothing else is working. There's layers now to this offense, Stephanie, who I was talking about over the weekend, is if the first action breaks down, when she was coaching against them last year, they knew it was just get up on Caitlin. She's going to take the shot or force something. Well, now they got different actions. So if the pick and roll, if the roll's not there to Aaliyah, it might be a kick to Kelsey on the wing, or maybe Dewana's cutting back door. You're going to like this Fever basketball team, but give it time. There's been some people in the comments that are criticizing how they played in the 3rd preseason game with a couple players out in the second half, or, don't make any grand proclamations right now. They are just in figure it out mode, build team chemistry, and install. They still got to install a lot, both offensively and defensively. But Stephanie White's a phenomenal coach. Austin Kelly heads up the offense. Bree January will help with that, but is primarily the leader of the defense. And I mean, Caitlin singled her out. Sophie singled her out. I think Dewana has too. They love Breon January, the former Fever player. So you're going to see a lot of new and interesting things with this team. I can't believe it's less than a week away now from opening night. Coming up on Saturday, roster cuts have to be made by 5 p.m. Eastern time on May 15th. Pacers rebound limit turnovers. Yeah, and that's a big reason why they won. Just 11 turnovers in this one. They also had 15 second chance points, only gave up 10 offensive rebounds while having 8 themselves. So that is basically a wash, and you're in a good spot. Off ball won't have Basil. I think you're talking about Caitlin. Off ball won't help if they won't pass the ball to her when she's wide open. They'll figure it out, man. They'll be in a good spot for sure. We'll do a Fever Live here coming up. Yeah, I agree, Anthony. Let's talk Pacers. This, I know we have a lot of Fever fans. I have a loyal Fever fan base, but tonight is all about the Pacers getting it done. We have a week ahead to talk about Fever here. Any other questions you guys have pertaining to tonight's win and what it means for this series. I thought Miles was really good. Again, he finished with 20.7 rebounds, 3 assists, just solid all around. And I think that's Miles Turner at his best. When he doesn't pop, when he doesn't when you're not questioning his shot making, he's just out there contributing and piling up points, rebounds, and so many of his stuff is also handling his role. It's protecting the rim or maybe boxing his guy out so that Jared Allen has 2 rebounds or Evan Mobley only has 5. I thought Siakam was really good tonight. I thought Halliburton was good enough tonight. And I think he'll play better coming up in game 5 as well. He likes those road environments. He likes picking someone out of the crowd and using that individual as motivation to play harder for sure. Yeah, I still can't believe the score at half either, Eric. Really can't. 80-39. First of all, either one by itself is remarkable. 39 points at halftime in an NBA game is not good enough. 80, on the other hand, is ridiculous. It's the most the Pacers have ever scored it in a half in franchise history in the NBA. Everything was going their way. They were shooting 60%. I think they had 8 threes by halftime, 25 assists at the break as well. Everything was humming. Honestly, the only thing that was not going well for the Pacers at that juncture was Benedict Matherin not being available. The fact that he was ejected with that flagrant 2 foul, that was the only thing that you can really pick apart that they just did not handle well. Hard not to look ahead after this game. Any opinion on that Celtics-Knicks series? I kind of gave it earlier, Granny. I wouldn't want to face either one of them, but especially the Celtics, given their wings, their experience, their championship. Obviously, we have an incredible series going on there with the Knicks taking the first couple, then the Celtics answering. I know Pacer fans will want that one to go the distance, go 7 games, because I agree. I don't see any way the Pacers mess up this series and lose 3 straight. Now, it's been done, obviously. I just don't see it happening. But either way, game 1 would be on the road, either in New York or in Boston. And of note, game 3 would be right back here in Indianapolis on Sunday, May 25th, the same day as the Indianapolis 500. So we would indeed have racers and Pacers. The days of Jim O'Brien coaching the Pacers felt like the worst years. Yeah, I agree. For sure. There was a couple down years with Vogel as he ramped them up, but not quite low there. I would throw in the rival of that Nate Bjorkgren year, both because it was during the pandemic. It was a new head coach. He never coached a game as the Pacers head coach without a mask or with a full crowd. So I also give him that. The remarkable thing in covering that team, I was there every day, the only one. And I never got to see him face to face when he was officially Pacers coach. It was all over Zoom. And when we covered games, it was up from the club level. Now, I covered him the next year when he was back on Toronto's bench, and face to face, he was like, Scott, good to finally meet you. Good to finally talk with you after spending basically every day of last season on a Zoom call with you. That was just a tough year. So I would probably say Compton, that year with that turnover year with Bjorkgren and Oladipo's injury. And then I think it was Sabonis sitting out of the bubble as well. While Oladipo only played because he would lose money. That was probably the most difficult year in the last 15 years or so. By the way, fun fact, Jim O'Brien used to take care of us ball kids. You may not know this. I got my start in sports as a ball boy. RCA tennis championships, Fever, and Pacers. And back when I was with the Pacers, Jim O'Brien was a coach. And he used to give us a Christmas gift. It usually was a note with $100 in there. So I always appreciated that. He was the only coach that did that during my 10 years there. So I really appreciated that. Didn't get to know him well, right? We're on the Lotus totem pole. We're on the low of that totem pole. I know players didn't like him, but he did at least respect us and appreciate what we did. And his assistant coaches, he always did something for. Like one year, I remember him buying them all at least a suit, maybe several suits for the season, which I thought was cool. Siakam was amazing today. Needs to put it again for game 5. Totally agree. Was saying that this whole series. The fact that he had not scored 20 plus since game 3 of last season. A series. He's the most reliable guy. He's the guy that you can count on. But on this night, on the last few games, I should say, he had not lived up to that. So as much like you needed to see more from Halliburton, you needed to see more from Pascal Siakam, their all-star this year. And tonight again, he delivered 21 points in just 21 minutes, 9 and 10 from the field, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. He looked rejuvenated. He looked fresh, as if he got a nice little massage or two leading into it. Maybe the entire Pacers starting group did. because that's the disposition, the force, and the hard play that Rick Carlisle wants to see his Pacers team play with. Michael, no update on Sophie, left ankle sprain. I think it was left ankle sprain. And she told Stephanie White post game, I'm fine. But again, like I was talking with Halliburton, you never know exactly what that means, but she's got a week off to get it right. And we'll get more here coming up this week with practices. Yeah, it was bad. Also bad before Larry Brown, says Basil. Yeah. So there's been some down years. That's why I insist, all you Pacer fans out there, enjoy this moment, enjoy this team, enjoy this coaching staff, because it's a special group. How many teams do you have make it this far that are truly teams, that are not star dependent? You look at Denver. Denver's not still playing if it's not for Nikola Jokic. They don't have another all-star on that roster. They don't have a defensive player year on the roster, for example. They're so dependent on Jokic. OKC's like the Pacers very much by committee, which is awesome. But this is a special group. They have a lot to figure out this offseason. Excuse me, as they want to take another level. How do you handle your center spot in particular? How much do you pay Miles Turner and trying to bring him back? I assume at backup center, they'll bring back Isaiah Jackson coming off an Achilles injury, but where is he with his rehab? We have not gotten an update here in months. So maybe I'll work on that here coming up after the season as well. Basil, hey, fantastic. You were one of the very few that have pronounced my name correctly. I appreciate that. I had a buddy in high school, Basil Smotherman. So I saw that and assumed that's how you pronounced it. I always, as a broadcaster as well, that's one of the biggest things that I try to make a point to do is get names right, because I know everybody's name matters and you want to get it right. So also, if anybody I mispronounce your name, make sure I do get it right. Jency, great work by everybody tonight. Thank you, Scott. You're very welcome. And maybe on that note, it's a perfect time to wrap up this live post-game show. I've went over an hour with you, an incredible audience here on YouTube. If you missed it, you can watch a replay of this on YouTube. Listen back at 2x speed like I would, or I will post it on the Fieldhouse Files Pacers podcast. So tune into that as well. Again, the Pacers get the win tonight, 129-109. There was never any doubt. They led 12-5. They led 22-10. It was 80-39 at halftime, and by the end of it, they won by 20. And by the way, with the win, Rick Carlisle now moves into first in all-time NBA playoff wins in franchise history. He surpassed Frank Vogel earlier this series, and tonight surpassed his old buddy and Larry Bird as well. So also a notable thing for Rick Carlisle, but something he probably won't appreciate or really care much about until his career and time in Indianapolis is wrapped up. Thanks again to everybody for joining me here on the live Fieldhouse Files post-game show. Pacers take a 3-1 series lead on the Cavaliers with Game 5 coming up Tuesday, 7 o'clock in Cleveland. I will still do a post-game show, although I will be in Chicago for the NBA Draft Combine, covering all of that for you at fieldhousefiles.com. So make sure you join, subscribe, and be part of the community. Thanks to everyone for joining me, and I will talk to you all again soon. Have a great night, everyone, and happy Mother's Day once again.